While 1921 was arguably Babe Ruth's greatest season, this was 1922, and it would be one of his biggest disappointments, a season he probably wanted to forget. Both Ruth and teammate Bob Musial were ordered by Commissioner Landis to not do any barnstorming following the 1921 World Series. They both ignored him, and they were both suspended 6 weeks at the outset of the 1922 season. The Yankees managed to stay afloat, boasting a 22-11 record without their stars, but they were struggling at the gate. After missing 33 games, they both returned on May 20th. But just 5 games later, Ruth got into it with an umpire. He was ejected from the game, and he even charged a heckler in the stands. He was then given his second suspension, this time by the league president. This was not a habit of Ruth's, nor had he ever been suspended. It's apparent that he was feeling the pressure to deliver after missing the first 33 games of the season. His troubles continued in mid-June when he challenged an umpire over a call at second base and received what was now his third suspension. The next day he challenged the umpire to a fight, and he got an additional suspension tacked on, and things only got worse. In August, he was ejected for arguing a called third strike, and it led to his 5th suspension, all within the span of 1 year. In the end, the Babe only played 110 games in 1922. It probably goes without saying, but Ruth's not going to receive a retro MVP for the 1922 season. But let's review what he has collected so far. By using modern day standards, I've determined that Ruth deserved 4 awards when he was with the Boston Red Sox: the Rookie of the Year award, a Cy Young award, and 2 MVPs. And in his first 2 seasons with the Yankees, he just tacked on more MVP awards, bringing his total to 4. But for the 1922 season, the AL MVP award begins and ends with George Sisler. From 1922 to 1928, the American League handed out what they called the League Award. This was the equivalent of what we now just call the MVP award. There were 2 big stipulations. Number 1, voters were required to select only 1 player from each team, and number 2, prior award winners were ineligible. Both of these factors are important to remember not just for the 1922 season, but for the seasons that follow. Here are the results for the League Award, and as you can see, Sisler ran away with it, and he should have, and every sane person should have voted for him. But make notice of the fact that teammate Ken Williams appears nowhere in the top 10. In fact, he appears nowhere in the top 25. And again, that's because you could only vote for 1 person from each team. Moving forward, I'm going to show you who I think were the top candidates for this award. And I have to say that I'm pretty puzzled when I look at the actual top 10 vote. I've got George Sisler as a runaway winner for the MVP award, with teammate Ken Williams easily coming in second. Ty Cobb and Tris Speaker both had great seasons, and I really can't decide who should come in third, so I'm just declaring it a tie for third. Ruth comes in 5th, Harry Heilman in 6th. Back in 1920, Sisler had one of the all-time great seasons. He collected 257 hits, a record that stood for 84 years. It would take a guy named Ichiro to break that record. And he had 41 3-hit games. That's still a Major League record. He also batted .407. But if there had been an MVP award given that year, it still would have gone to the Babe. And that's why I'm calling 1922 Sisler's Revenge. Sisler had hit .407 in 1920, but he found a way to top that by hitting .420 in 1922. He accomplished that absurd average over the course of 655 plate appearances. Nobody in the history of baseball has ever had 650 plate appearances and hit higher than Sisler's .420 mark. In fact, Rogers Hornsby is the only person since 1900 to have over 600 plate appearances and hit for a higher average than Sisler did in 1922. Let's talk about Sisler's teammate, Ken Williams. He's the runner-up for the MVP in 1922. This was his career best season as he led the league in home runs, RBIs, and total bases. The fact that Ruth only played 110 games takes nothing away from the great season that Williams had. He had 39 home runs and drove in 155. So imagine this. The St. Louis Browns had Sisler hitting 3rd and Williams hitting 4th, the best 2 players in the league in 1922. And yet, in the race for the pennant, they fell 1 game short. That had to be very disappointing. Well, let's go back to Ruth. Due to 5 suspensions, Ruth only played 110 games. But despite the suspensions, he still led the league in 6 categories, including slug and OPS, and he managed to salvage a season that really seemed to go south pretty quick. He had been on pace to hit 49 home runs if he had played the entire season. And here's a cool stat. From 1918 to 1931, Ruth led the league in home runs 12 of 14 years. 1922 is one of those years where he failed to set the standard. Having edged out the Browns by 1 game, the Yankees found themselves back in the World Series, and once again, they were matched up against their cross-city rivals, the New York Giants. It didn't go well for the Yankees as they got swept 4-0, and it didn't help that Ruth only hit .118, going 2 for 17 at the plate with 1 double and 1 RBI. Ruth had now been in the World Series 5 times, winning the World Series 3 times with the Red Sox. But thus far with the Yankees, he was 0 for 2, and I'm sure he was looking forward to 1923. Well, that's it, and I hope you're enjoying this series about Babe Ruth. If you are, hit that subscribe button, and when the next video comes out, you'll be alerted. Thanks for watching.